I finally got my hands on a palette that I've wanted for ages from a brand that I love so much. Now, I don't have most things from this brand because I tend to not really align with a lot of the aesthetic, but there are some palettes that have a beautiful color story and a theme to which I do not object, and this brand is Unearthly Cosmetics. Now, I just love their formula. So good. The mattes are amazing and the shimmers are exactly what I want from a shimmer formula. They are lightweight and they are sparkly. They're opaque when they need to be. On the whole, there are not that many topper shades I have from the brand, and they're so beautiful. Now, for a while, I've had the Sorceress Smoke palette from Unearthly, and this is actually my palette pull-in, which is where I'm working through the palette with the shades in consecutive order, just including whatever shade is next into my eye look. So today I'm going to finish this palette with the shade here, Vervain, and the one that I recently got from the brand after, again, wanting it for quite some time, is the Fall Magic palette. Now these guys are like sisters, and today I don't actually have much of a plan as far as the look that I want to make, but if I'm using the Vervain shade, which is a mid-tone cool brown shimmer, I might pair it with this. That's about as far as I've gotten. So I've primed my eyes already with the Glamlight Icing Primer, and well, that's that. Let's go. I think I'm going to start by mixing the shades Branch and Earthy and filling my outer crease area with these. I think this palette's beautiful, and I love, as I said, the Unearthly formula. A friend of mine has this palette, and she was so excited when she heard that I had picked it up. She was like, "Oh, do you have it yet? Did you play with it yet? Did you play with it? It's so good." Sorceress Smoke is a beautiful palette. Honestly, to me, the most interesting neutral palette that I have, because I just love the formula, and I think that pretty much any color is gonna be a delight to play with if it's made with a good formula. So I like Sorceress Smoke. Even though neutrals are not my tip-top favorite thing to play with, I tend to lean towards more colorful things. I do now appreciate neutrals, and to have them in a beautiful formula is just a delight. I will take a bit of Forage. Now, to be totally transparent, the person who sold this palette on Mercari, where I got it, they had taken the shade Forage. I don't remember the details. I think they'd taken the shade out and lost it, misplaced it, couldn't find it. So they put this shade back in, and I'll go into the listing and figure out what shade this actually is from a different Unearthly palette, I think, but it's slightly different from the original Forage. This is the only time I'm going to mention it because it's close enough that I don't think, first off, I don't know if anybody actually follows my tutorials, like if you ever follow along to recreate a look, but if you do, I think that this shade is close enough that you're going to get basically the same result. So I probably won't mention it anymore, just first time on camera, actually first time using the palette at all, just so you know, technically my Forage shade is slightly different. Because my Vervain shade is kind of middle of the road in depth, actually leaning a little bit darker, I did want my crease to be kind of deep as well. Going pretty smoky here today. Anyway, do you have either of these palettes from Unearthly? As I said, I'm finishing up Sorceress Smoke as my palette pull-in, so I've used each one of those shades individually in the last 12 looks. Well, 11 looks plus today. And I think that I can say that Sorceress Smoke has been my favorite palette pull-in. I've probably done maybe 8 or so palettes for my collection. You know, I have a random generator tell me what palette to do next, and I just work through first, then the second shade, then the third shade, all the way through. Once in a while I won't include if I think it really doesn't work with my look, and once in a while I forget. But I did a good job remembering all of the shades this time, and I had no trouble incorporating any of them because they were neutral shades on the whole. Maybe once or twice I forgot, but it was really easy, and also a total delight because I just love the formula so much. Would you guys be interested, I'm picking up my palette pull-in now, would you be interested in me doing a favorite formulas video? I kind of think I will, but I would like to know if you want to see that. So this is my palette pull-in. This is the shade Vervain. It's not, I think, quite as sparkly as most Unearthly shimmers are. It's definitely beautiful, definitely impactful, just not as sparkly. So now we're gonna go into Autumn, and you'll see what I mean by sparkly. I'll put Autumn here. That's a pretty peachy color, isn't it? It's a little bit orange, a little bit pink, but not as warm as like a proper orange. I have a napkin on my lap, and when I finish applying the shadow, I tap off the napkin and go back in, because I want to make sure I'm not transferring oil onto the shadow as much as possible. So those are the two together. Now I'll take more of Forage and put that on my lower lash line. So tell me what you have from Unearthly. The other palette I have from them is their Lure palette, which is a gorgeous, gorgeous color story as well. And now into Earthy. But that's it. Sorry, it's like a hair stuck in my lashes or something. Those are the only palettes I've got from the brand. As I mentioned earlier, I don't always love their theming. I think that even though I would love to get PR from them because of the formula, I wouldn't be comfortable featuring a lot of their palettes on my channel, or honestly even using them, having them in my house. It's a brand that, as far as the quality, top notch. But I just don't align with a lot of their visual choices. This is really pretty, quite soft, nothing crazy. I'm gonna take Crisp. Ooh, that's a cool color. Ooh, how interesting. I'll put that right here, my inner corner. Of course, was there any? Look at that. That on my lid is, do you guys see? It looks like a green with a white base. Very striking. In fact, maybe a little bit too striking. Going into Autumn with a small brush, I'm just gonna try to load that up a little bit more onto the very inner part of my lid. And back with this small brush into Forage. Oh, that's so interesting. Do you see the way? Oh, hang on a second. Grab Forage and Crisp on my fingers, and I just want to see the way that Crisp looks on top of it. Isn't that cool? So Crisp by itself, but then when you put it on top of Forage, it goes a lot warmer, obviously, and a lot more gold. Again, unsurprisingly, but it's just interesting, right? It's pretty. Remember that you can do that with especially lighter shades. I guess this crisp shade would technically be considered a topper. With topper shades, you can overlay onto any color matte and get totally different looks. And that's it, right? I feel like there should be more, but it was just so easy and so fast and so fun. I'll be right back with the other side done. Catch up in a second. Okay, that is the whole look. I don't have anything else on my face or my lips. While I've been filming, I've been eating my breakfast, brunch, whatever. It's actually yogurt and granola with homemade granola. Do you guys ever make your own granola? Granola is expensive, so I make it at home. What I do is I mix oatmeal, a little bit of brown sugar, chia seeds, shredded coconut, some mixed nuts that sometimes I smash, sometimes I don't, coconut oil, a little splash of vanilla. Oh, and honey. I take the coconut oil and the honey, I melt them together on the stovetop, splash in the vanilla, and that gives me just full liquid instead of syrup. And then I throw that into the pan and mix it all up together. And I usually freeze it. And then when I'm ready to have some yogurt and granola, for example, I take it out of my freezer and just pour a little bit on, pop it back in the freezer. It is way, way, way more economical than buying granola. You can add in chocolate chips, you can add in protein powder if you want. Totally customizable. Totally delicious. Anyway, that's why I'm not wearing anything on my lips, but I also don't have blush or highlighter or anything else on. I did finish the eye look with two colors in my waterline, 002 from Udensai, which is orange, and that's in the inner half, and then this brown from LA Girl, the Glide Gel Liner, in the outer half and a little bit on the upper lash line, and I have mascara, and that is it. I think the look is really pretty. You know, I have to say, as far as my palette pull-in, this Vervain shade is such a lovely mid-tone brown shimmer. I think that it's probably my favorite for that kind of color, because so often it's just easy for brands to make that kind of color really boring. But this one's not boring. This one is, as you know, on the center of my lid and also working towards the outer corner, and it's lovely. So if you wanted to do a smoky eye that wasn't super intense, you know, not very reflective, but it was still sparkly and still just felt like smooth, creamy quality, I think that's a good one. As far as the Faux Magic palette, of course, I'm totally unsurprised that I'm so very impressed with it. It's beautiful. I think it's super pretty. I do wish I had one lighter matte. I mean, even lighter than whatever this one is originally, and even lighter than that. Something a little bit lighter, but they're all beautiful, and the colors that I used today, super pretty. I think the look is lovely, a little unexpected. I had fun pairing this pinky peach shimmer with that cool brown. I think they're interesting together. The only thing is, if I were to change anything, I might change my inner corner highlight, because it's not that I don't like it, I do like it, but I think that it's bringing a hair of something that might be considered clashing just a little bit. Not a problem. I actually usually like that for an inner corner. Today, maybe I would go with something that was a tiny bit of a different tone. I'm not sure. It feels like a whole new color because it ends up pulling quite green on the inner lid, on the inner corner space, and that doesn't really match with the rest of what's happening. So I think if I were to change anything, I would do the inner corner as more like a light peach or champagne pop, rather than this shimmer, which seems to bring in a lot of green. Of course, it's going to be beautiful with the other tones in the palette, especially because there is a dark green matte in here, over here. So like this quad, this palette's sort of arranged in quads. This quad would be gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous. But skipping around and taking the cool green tone of this and mixing it with the warmer peachy shade here, I don't dislike it. It's just interesting and a little bit extra, a little bit different, which may or may not be what you're going for that day. But anyway, I think today's look is really pretty and I'm happy to wear it. I hope you like it too. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think of Unearthly Cosmetics. Do you have any of their palettes? What is your favorite? And would you be interested in a video where I talk about my favorite formulas, like top 5 favorite formulas? If I did that, I might have to break it up into top 5 mattes and top 5 shimmers. I don't know. As opposed to top 5 brands, because I think there's only one brand that gets both of those formulas to my preferences perfect, and the rest it's a little bit more pick and choose, you know, the mattes from this brand and the shimmers from that brand, etc. Anyway, let me know what you're interested in seeing, because you know that I am enjoying creating this content for you. Perhaps you'll consider liking and subscribing before you go. Remember to check my description box for an Unearthly playlist, and in my next video that I film, I'll be selecting a new palette pull-in, so that'll be fun. I appreciate you so much for being here. Thank you for clicking on my video, and I hope that you have a lovely day. I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.